Mad. Untamed. I'ma feed 5-4 fun, money making animal. Don't put me in.
Is everybody dumb? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ask Mad Show. I am Mad, your Duke of Tribal Kingdom, International Man of Leisure, the Caesar of the Universal Players, your secret agent man giving you the game on all things. And just for the record, I might be an elitist. Yep. I might be what you would consider an elitist. And just in case you think I'm alone in that, right? You might be one too. I don't think I'm the only person who would qualify to be what you would call an elitist. If you're the kind of person who values progress and being productive, you might also be an elitist. If you're somebody who prioritizes your health and your goals in life, you might be an elitist, right? And that's not to be confused with mere ambition, right? Because ambition is a form of elitism. You can't be ambitious without having some sort of elitist view of yourself or of the world or the world that you want to live in. And there is no distinct difference between being ambitious and being elitist, right? I had an interaction. What was it, yesterday? I think it was yesterday. I had an interaction yesterday at a Family Dollar. That's why I shop at Family Dollar. If you don't, then something wrong with you. Ain't nothing wrong with shopping at the dollar store. That's not even an elitist thing. That's just practical. But I ended up going to this Family Dollar like the day before, and I bought some detergent. And what I thought was unscented was actually hypoallergenic and no dyes. So I had to take that back to get non-scented, non-this, non-that soap, right? Because it has been told to me by somebody who knows a lot more about these things than I do, that ladies, you shouldn't be washing your panties and whatnot, or your big drawers, whatever you prefer. You shouldn't be washing them with scented soaps. That's a Snapple fact for you. But anyway, I had to take this detergent back and I had to swap it out for the unscented, right? And so when I come into the store, go up to the counter and I explain whatever, and the girl that was there called another girl. Now, when she called another girl to come to the front to take care of this for me, I was approached from the side, right? Somebody came at 9:00. We using a clock for references. And it was a stud, bull dagger, somebody who was a female dressed like a male. And it didn't seem like nothing that caused me no concern at the time. And so the girl that was at the register was, handling the transaction or whatever. I let her know that I grabbed the wrong soap. And as I'm talking to her, this stud on the side of me just grabs the detergent bottle, opened it up, looked in there. Now, that's not an issue for me either. I would assume that people might be trying to return stuff and maybe it's empty, halfway empty, whatever. But you can tell by grabbing it that this was a full bottle. And then even at the top, the little bubbles was popping up out the top, But that wasn't enough. That didn't suffice for this individual. She had to stick her finger in the soap and rub it on her hands and said, nah, because last time somebody filled it up with water. And the only thing I could think of is, how you know that they did that? How did you know that it was full of water? Like, how did you know that? How did you come to get this information after they had already did the return or the exchange or whatever they did? Because I just wanted to exchange it out for the soap that I actually needed. And according to her, somebody had already ran a scam. I don't know if y'all noticed, y'all out there in TV land in America, somebody is running a scam where they getting detergent soap and they emptying it. I don't know what they emptying it into, but they refilling it up with water. I never would have knew. I thought that the detergent had a different color associated with it. It's normally blue. Sometimes it could be purple or like a tealish, greenish kind of color, And even if it's the clear color, you can clearly tell the difference between soap and water. I would hope you can. You know what I mean? And I went to get the soap that I needed to get, and then I came back up, and I couldn't let her have it. I ain't gonna lie to you. I couldn't just let the disrespect go like that, because I doubt you checking everybody that walks in this store and you sticking your fingers and everything. And I mean, what about contamination? You gonna just contaminate the soap for the next person? You think they want your nasty bulldagging fingers in they soap, man, not knowing what you've been doing? Because you look like the type that'll dig in your booty. You look like the type that'll either scratch down there in your nether regions and sniff it to see if it's clean, to see if it got a stench, which I'm sure it do. Yeah. And now the next person got to deal with that. So when I grabbed the new soap, I was hoping that she hadn't stuck her fingers in that. And I said, if I ever open up a store or sell anything of value, I'm going to put you in there, because you acting like you actually care. And she couldn't do nothing but smirk at that and laugh at her silly self, because we're in a dollar store. And not only did the detergent that I buy was under $20, but the detergent I exchanged it for was even less. So they owe me money. Imagine that. But what I'm saying is, if you the type of person that can't stand them type of reactions or those sort of interactions with people, then you might also be an elitist like myself. And it's not just the dollar store, man. It's like everywhere I go, I find myself somewhere where I'm saying, I'm not supposed to be here. Because in that moment, I said, okay, I'm at a dollar store. I don't think nothing of it. They got things in here that I need, stuff that I need to buy for my house and whatnot. And I just couldn't help but feel the feeling of, I'm not supposed to be here. At least me in person. If somebody does it on my behalf, it's the same value, it's the same store, it's the same product, but I'm not supposed to be dealing with this individual for whatever reason. If it's my face, if it's whatever it is, I think it's my aura, honestly. I think it's my energy. But it lends me to this idea that I might be an elitist. And it's not just the dollar store, man. It's literally everywhere I go. I went down to the Chicago Riverwalk. If you've never been to Chicago, you should go check it out. It is literally the Chicago River with, restaurants and bars on either side, seating and whatnot. And you can just walk down for blocks and look at the river and be in, company of, I guess, people who also want to enjoy the river. But I couldn't help but get this feeling, even as I was there downtown, in the heart of downtown, that I'm not supposed to be here either. I couldn't even find that place to be familiar to me, or at the very least speak to me to say, hey man, this is where you're supposed to be. You're among people that you're supposed to be around. And that led me to also think that I might be elitist. And the question is, if I'm saying all these things might be an indication of my elitism, what is elitist, right? What is elitism? You know what I'm saying? And I boil it down in the most simplest of terms, man, because you can try to complicate this if you want to. You're going to end up confusing yourself and whoever you're talking to. It really boils down to something quite simple, and it go like this. You either a thief or you not. That's it. You either a thief or you not. And that might sound too simple for some. They may say, well, that don't make sense. It makes perfect sense. You either somebody who engages in criminality, thievery and such, or you're not. And if you're not somebody who engages in such things, you may have a form of elitism. Now, we need to understand that everything exists on a spectrum. Everything. There is not one single thing on this planet that does not exist on the spectrum. It's not so black and white all the time, but you can get from one extreme to the next. So white is one extreme and black is an extreme, then yeah, things exist on that timeline, on that spectrum. And it's the same thing with being a thief and being an elitist. You may, even in the microcosm, have an even wider or smaller spectrum for what an elite, how much of an elitist you are, right? And if we I always use the pH scale. I think the pH scale is perfect for using things in terms of identifying where you may lie on the spectrum, right? And if you are at 7, which is neutral, water, then yeah, you right there in the middle. You may not be a thief and you may not be an elitist. You would have what some consider to be the balance of it all. I don't necessarily look at it like that. I look at it like you haven't chosen for yourself and you're going to end up by yourself. Not just by yourself, you're going to end up at the mercy of those who are thieves. You have to take a hard stand and not just not be a thief, but also not be an elitist. You have to be one of the other. So you're either a thief or you're not. And if you're not a thief, if you're somebody who looks at things in the term of morality, if you have morality about yourself and you have values and things that you prioritize that have a productivity attached to it, that has a constructive mechanism to it, then you may consider yourself to not be an elitist, and you're gonna come to a rude awakening that if you're not that what you say, then you better at least surround yourself with those who are. Because if you find yourself among thieves, they're going to take you for everything. And it's going to happen real quick before you know it. And you just going to get took. And that's just going to be the end of it. Because you didn't identify yourself properly. And I think that's what this really boils down to. Not being an elitist for the sake of being better than somebody, but identifying yourself properly so that you can be where you're supposed to be instead of being in places where you get either disrespected. And it's always these microaggressions. It's never overt. That's probably the worst part of it. Because if somebody was challenging you outright, confronting you outright, hostile, aggressively, then we know how to handle that, man. It's the microaggressions that really get under my skin. That really makes me say that I may have a form of elitism because I can't stand that part. I can't stand microaggressions and passive aggressive behavior. That's some of the worst. And it comes from people who I would consider to be a part of the thievery. Yeah, because you have 3 different denominations. And I said I was going to speak about this, and this is as good a time as any to talk about this. You have what they call the Underworld, Middle Earth, and the Overworld. And believe it or not, all 3 have very distinct classifications and look at it literally like the globe. Underworld, Middle Earth, Overworld, right? And those who are in Middle Earth, you're at the mercy of the Overworld and the Underworld, because you have to come in contact with both of them. The Overworld doesn't have to come in contact with the Underworld, but when it's necessary, they do. And the Underworld doesn't always have the connection or the opportunity to connect with the Overworld, but when the opportunity comes, they take it. But those who are stuck in Middle Earth don't have the access to Overworld, and they don't have the ability to create a buffer between themselves and the Underworld. So they're at the mercy of both, because the Overworld is making the rules that everybody got to follow, whether it's laws, public policy, company policy, right? You got a manager, somebody at your job that you don't like. You are part of Middle Earth because you don't work for yourself. You're not a boss. You don't make your own decisions. You have to live within whatever parameters they have set before you, and that brings you into contact with the Underworld because you have no control. And the Underworld is pure chaos. The Underworld is anarchy. They live by their own set of rules, and those rules are even more confusing than Middle Earth. Even more confusing than the laws that everybody got to follow, wearing seatbelts and whatnot. The laws of the Underworld, the rules of the Underworld are very confusing. You have to be of it to understand it. And in that sense, I wouldn't even know why you would want to be of it. If you were, why would you want to continue to deal with it? And the Overworld don't got no rules. You know what I'm saying? It's he who has the big stick wins. That's the Overworld. If that's America, that's Russia, if that's Israel, Iran, don't matter. That's how they getting down. They straighten up putting bombs over Baghdad. They're going to bomb you. They're going to do whatever they got to do to show their strength because they got the bigger stick. Now, everybody who behaves with morality is elitist because moral value is an above average point of view. If you're somebody who has a moral value or you have moral obligations, you are above average. And average within itself isn't necessarily something that you should strive to be. If you somebody who just wants to be an average Joe, you just want to be an average guy walking around, I think that you are putting yourself in more danger than you realize. Because not just being at the mercy of the underworld or the overworld, more so not having a purpose. And I think those who lack purpose are similar to thieves to me. And you cannot be an elitist without a purpose. So if that's true, then the antithesis is true. If you're somebody with a purpose in life, then you would be considered an elitist because you have a purpose. You have something that you're striving towards. And in order to do that, you have to have skills. In order to have skills, you have to work at them. And in order to work at them, you have to have discipline. Having discipline is a form of elitism. Because those without discipline, the thieves and whatnot, the people who engage in certain behaviors that will put them in a worse position than they can imagine themselves to be in, are not elite. Just by nature of the fact that they have no skills, right? So even if you're not somebody who up until this point thought you were elitist because of everything that I just outlined, now knowing that if you're somebody who has a skill set or a discipline in the very least, you have a form of elitism. And the immoral can also have an elitist view, but that doesn't belong to true elitism. You know what I'm saying? Which is pure ambition. Those who are immoral can have a form of elitism in the fact that they want to be where the elite are, but when they get there, they are not of the elite because there is nothing elite about being immoral. That's what I believe. What is pure elitism? It is without flaw. It is without limitation, right? And it's saying that I can do anything. I was with my uncle yesterday and he reminded me of a quote that my grandfather would say to him. And he says, "What is it that I can't do?" So he asked me the question, what is it that you can't do? There's nothing I can't do. That makes me an elitist, to even think that, to even have the notion that I can do anything I want to do. To those who don't have that same sense, that same energy, they're going to consider you to be an elitist. Whether they call it that or not. They may call you something else. They may call you arrogant. I've been called arrogant because I believe in myself. I've been called cocky because I have confidence in myself. But the reality of it is my ambition sparks these things and it keeps me grounded. It keeps me disciplined. But that base nature is the elitism and the fact that I don't think there's nothing that I can't do. And for the most part, you may or may not come in contact with people who share that, who also have this form of elitism, but it's very few and very far between to where I can't seem to come in contact with anybody who has it truly speaking. They may have glimpses of it, they may have bits and pieces of it, but they ain't got the full picture of it because I can't seem to find myself in good company, so to speak, or I just can't seem to find the right place to be. And I don't think I'm alone in that. It's the reason why I'm talking about it on this show. I think there are others like myself who, no matter where you go, you don't seem to find yourself anywhere familiar to you. And you just looking around and you say, I'm not supposed to be here. This is not a cry for help. This ain't got nothing to do with life in general. It has everything to do with direction. It has everything to do with destination, destiny, if you will. What is your destiny, right? And not your final destination, not your resting place, but that place where you know you are where you're supposed to be. And if you can't find that place, you have to keep looking. And that is what they would consider to be ambitious. Because you're looking for something, you're striving towards something. And it's not one goal or the next. It's not about being the best rapper. It's not about being the most famous person. It's not about being, the most beautiful person. It has everything to do with where do I belong? Where am I supposed to be? Now, you use the things that God gave you in order to get there. And everywhere you go, that's not the place for you to be. You have to continue. I've been a lot of places, man. I've met a lot of people. And, they was cool. You know, a lot of people I met, they was cool. And I got nothing against nobody. But I know when I'm not supposed to be somewhere. And I give it some time before I make my move, before I make my exit, to where you're not going to really see me like that. Because I've already deduced that this ain't where I'm supposed to be. And that doesn't make them not elite. It just means that they exist lower on the spectrum than I do. And if you could do something, no matter what it is, why wouldn't you do it at the very best? Like, why wouldn't you want to be in the company of those who are at the top of their game? That's where I come in at. Everything for me has to be the top of my game. And I don't want to be around anybody who isn't at the top of their game. And if you're not at the top of your game and you're not doing everything you can to get there, then you're wasting time. You're wasting time. A lot of these people are professional time wasters. They never prepare for nothing. And I just can't seem to, I can't seem to wrap my mind around that, because why would I waste my own time? Like, why would I knowingly waste my own time? And whether it's through just not being prepared for things or the use of endless conversation as a stalling tactic because you're not serious about nothing. You know what I'm saying? You want to just talk. Let's talk about talking next time we see each other. We're going to talk about this. It's like, when are we going to do some of the stuff we've been talking about? You know what I mean? Professional time wasters. And the question I have is, why would you waste your own time? Now, if you don't have this form of elitism that I do, then you can disregard, because you can waste all the time you like. You don't have this elitist view. You don't have goals. You don't prioritize your health. You don't prioritize your financial goals, whether it's trying to be wealthy or set up some type of trust for your family, generational wealth, things of that nature. You can completely disregard all of this because this don't apply to you. But to those of y'all who have goals, those of y'all who are striving to achieve things, who want better for yourself and your progeny, then you have to ask yourself, why would you waste your own time and use just endless conversation to stall from getting down to the nitty gritty, which is, what are you going to do? Yeah. I really loathe time wasters. I loathe just small talk in general. I'm not the guy for small talk. I was recently asked yesterday. I'm going back to yesterday. Everything happened yesterday. My whole life was yesterday. And I go to this event, you know, at a nice club called the Pearl Club. It's a little lounge, nothing serious, you know, just a swanky joint. I'm just in there having myself a reposado. And the people in there, you know, everybody's mingling and talking. And I just overhear conversation in the midst of where I'm sitting, you know. And these two girls come in and they say, hey, anybody sitting there? I said, no, go ahead, sit down, have a seat, make yourself comfortable, whatever. And this fella approaches them and he says, hey, I've been appointed to go around and talk and mingle and make sure everybody's enjoying themselves and having a good time. And he sits down and he's talking to them. And their conversation, man, went from one thing to the next. And it was all a waste of time, if you ask me. It was all meaningless. They went from talking about Costco and the deals you can get at Costco to China and fat kids in China and what they do to fat kids in China. Now, you might consider that to be just conversation, something to pass the time, but why would I want to pass time? You know, time is the most precious commodity we have on this earth, that we have in life, is time. And you can't get it back. You can lose money, get it back. You dig what I'm saying? You can lose friends, make new friends. You can lose loved ones, love somebody else. But you can't get back the time that you spent doing or having conversations that went nowhere. And here they is talking. Now, I guess you can question me because I'm sitting there listening, but it wasn't my thing. Just so happened to overhear it. No, I was there to relax. You dig? That was how I wanted to spend my time, because I'm a very busy man. I do a lot of things. You dig? And so when I could take the time to chill and relax and have myself a light drink, I do that. You dig? And so I just couldn't help but not just listen, but to come to the conclusion that this is a waste of my time. So I hurried up and finished my drink and I got up out of there, man, because I'd much rather be either at home working on one of my projects. You know what I mean? I'm writing a book right now. I could be working on that. I got, 3 new EPs that I'm working on. I could be working on that, you dig? And I have this show that I do. I got to edit. I got to do all that stuff myself. I could not see myself sitting there longer, just wasting my own time. And one thing I notice about the unprepared is that they're in abundance. It's a lot of them, and they all over the place. And I think that people who are unprepared should be quarantined away from those of us who are serious about building and progressing in life. If you're not serious about building and progressing in life, if everything is a joke or a game, the game of life is something different. I'm talking about people who aren't serious about nothing. Y'all should be quarantined. I've already said this before. It should be districts like the Hunger Games, man. Or classify people like the movie series Divergent, man. You know what I mean? You should have the smart people, the honest people, the people who just want to love, man, the hippie people. And yeah, it's all about love, man. You know what I mean? Everybody should have their own section, their own piece of the pie that they exist in. So people like myself ain't got to have my time wasted being around those who are not serious about doing nothing. Now, yesterday was just one day. But I see this all the time. It is pervasive. And I see it a lot in a cultural aspect where mainly in my own culture, the culture that I was born into, Black American culture, it's full of time wasters and people who use conversation as a stalling tactic. You know what I mean? The use of endless conversation only to discuss the next conversation, right? And all of it is designed to waste your time. Dr. Neely Fuller Jr. has a quote. He says, Black people are the most meetingest people in the world, but they never do's nothing. Just have a meeting to discuss what are we going to discuss at the next meeting. And there's been a lot of changes that's taken place here in this United States of America, and that's due to those who were actionary, not reactionary, right? People who took action, not people who just reacted. And you got a lot of that. And if it's nothing to react to, then they don't know what to do. If you don't give them something to react to, then they don't know what to do, which is why a lot of times they reacting to each other. And if you caught in the middle of that, they reacting to you. I find myself being reacted to a lot, even when I'm not doing nothing to cause a reaction from somebody. If you just live in your life and you not even trying to, but you are in your purpose, your divine purpose, I don't necessarily see that as something that people should react to. Now, they can respond to it if you invite them into it. But if you just existing as your own, man, you should be able to do that without somebody using conversation to waste your time, without somebody making it seem as if they want the same things that you want. Now, if you want to have a conversation with me, and you somebody who considers yourself not to be a time waster, then your conversation to me should be about building. It should be about economics. It should be about resources. It should be about politics in the form of how to make things better or how to relate to each other or to relate to other people. Give me some insight. Give me some tips on things, not just your problems, man. Oh, do I loathe talking about people's problems? I got my own problems. I try not to bring problems to people. But if I could use things as lessons or cautionary tales, I would do so, right? I could use something that happened to me as a cautionary tale to either somebody who hasn't been through it or somebody who's currently going through it. And hopefully that can help that individual. And I would like the same thing in reciprocity. It doesn't have to be from that person, just the energy that I'm putting out into the world. That's the type of energy I want to receive back. And it's not enough to just put that energy out there. You have to also curate the spaces that you're going to be in. And you have to pay vivid attention, right? You have to really, really dissect everything down to, molecules and see exactly what it is that you find yourself doing and where do you find yourself at and who do you find yourself around and for what reason? Why? Why are we doing this? Why would I waste my own time? The time wasted is a glaring result of a person who has no purpose and will not gravitate toward discipline. Because you're doing all of this just to stall and waste time when you could be using that same time to develop some disciplinary things about yourself to make sure that wherever it is that you want to go, you are prepared when you get there. Because a part of the time wasting is also being unprepared. Why you wasting time talking and stalling about the next thing? You could be preparing yourself for when it actually comes around. And one thing that I see people doing and a lot of talking about is these kids. It's a lot of talking and time wasting about what the kids is doing and how they choose to spend their time and why this ain't that and why that ain't this. They've long argued that kids need something to do. I agree. I think everybody needs something to do, not just kids. Grown folks need something to do. And the grown folks should be doing something before they get to the kids. If you're not doing nothing and your kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews, whatever, if they watching you do nothing, how are you going to expect them to want to do something just because you built a community center or a bed? I don't think there's a shortage of that. There's no shortage of programs, community centers, basketball courts, football fields, baseball fields, soccer fields. It ain't a shortage of that. It ain't a shortage of iPhones, iPads, Apple Watches. It ain't a shortage of technology. Even if it wasn't something physical, mental stimulation is there for these kids. The resources are there. And if they got brand new Michael Jordan shoes on their feet, then I know it ain't a poverty issue, right? So what is the issue? Why can't these kids seem to find nothing constructive to do with their time? Why do they get involved with teen takeovers, gangs and drugs and things of that nature? Because they watching y'all do it. And y'all seem to think that you are exempt from this, that you don't have to set an example for the kids to look up to. You think you can just push them out there while you wasting time with your life and you not an elitist, you a thief of some sort. Yeah. Whether you stealing from people, stealing their money, clothes, whatever, or stealing their time, you a thief of some sort. And you think that them children is going to grow up to be something different only if they see something different. Not because you built a community center or a swimming pool and said, here's something fun for y'all to do. Yeah, they going to do it when they get ready to. Not saying that they never going to do it. Some of the kids benefit from it, but it was always there, man. It was always there. It ain't a shortage of it. I remember we didn't have basketball courts. We had milk crates, man. And we would cut the bottom out of crate and nail it to a pole in the alley and be out there shooting and playing basketball. Ain't even had nowhere to really dribble. And some of the rawest niggas I knew could shoot in that crate and it go right down that crate. And that was a hard thing to do, to shoot on crates, man. If you ain't never grew up in the hood for real, you don't know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about playing in the alley and shooting on a crate. We ain't had no community center. We didn't even have a real basketball hoop. Y'all got all of that and still choose to not engage with it. That's because it ain't got nothing to do with you having a shortage of things to do. I want to watch this video, something that was on Instagram, where they maintain that the kids ain't got nothing to do. And I really disagree with that. I disagree with that. So let's check this out. See what I'm talking about. Liars. Bunch of liars. Bunch of time wasters, man. Just wasting time. That's all they doing is wasting time. And wasting your time, if you want to commit to them or if you want to invest in what they got going, it's going to be a waste of your time.
And these teens got a chance to share their testimonies and experiences. They also talked about the lack of opportunities in their neighborhoods and how they want to see more safe spaces for them to go after hours.
There's so many pretty organizations that have so much funding, but it really doesn't do anything for the teens that need places to go after hours.
We're not just asking for miracles or handouts. We're asking for opportunity that we deserve. And when you give us that, we don't just take it. We transform it.
We belong in this city, and we need places to where we can truly belong and where we can feel like we can heal.
They took all the free spaces from us, and they expect us not to go to the beach or go downtown. But there's nowhere for us to connect or meet new people.
Now, Mayor Brandon Johnson has talked about the role parents should play in stopping gatherings from getting out of hand. We talked to a parent today who says it should be a community effort.
If we need to be out when they're out, then we need to change our hours from when we
Alex and Allison, these
work as organizations to fit the schedule of our youth. When they say hold the youth accountable, hold everyone accountable, not just the parents, hold the community accountable.
So today's hearing was led by 26 Ward Alderperson Jessie Fuentes. She is the chair of the Subcommittee on Youth Employment. She tells me this is a first of a series of conversations that could help drive legislation and funding for these spaces and more.
Okay,
back to you, Al.
That's enough of that, man. That's enough of that. That's enough of that, man. That's retarded. Let me just tell you right now. I'm sitting here watching these kids as they sitting in that courthouse, whatever that room is, they all sitting in and reading from the pieces of paper that's sitting in front of them. And I can tell they all lying. That ain't how they genuinely feel about nothing. That ain't how they feel. You take away the free spaces and you expect us not to go to the beach, not to go downtown? No. Ain't nobody telling you can't go down there. They telling you got to behave yourself when you go down there. How does your behavior automatically mean you can go to these places based on the way you acting? No, you should stay in your neighborhood. What you want to leave your neighborhood for and take it with you? Why? I don't understand that. And why it got to be free? What you mean they took away free spaces? What was the free spaces? What were the free spaces? Outside is your free space. What are you talking about? Why you got to go somewhere or be in somebody's infrastructure, inside of somebody's business, if you don't want to behave yourself accordingly? Act accordingly. That's all they telling you to do. This is our city and we deserve to be a part of it. You is a part of it. Just, unfortunately, you're a part of the worst part. The worst part of it. And you want to bring the worst part to the best part. And they saying, hey, man, no. Which is what they've always said. This ain't nothing new phenomena. Mamas and daddies and them wasn't going downtown, wasn't going to the beach. They stayed in their neighborhoods with their behavior because they wasn't allowed to go down there. Nowadays, you actually allowed to go down there. And they don't say nothing right away. But if it's 200-300 of you and y'all all acting up and acting a fool, tearing up things, then they supposed to tell you can't come down there. But they didn't say you couldn't go down there, right? So you can go down there all you want to. Why I got to be 30 of you? Talking about ain't nowhere to go to meet new people. In order to do what? What are you wanting to meet new people to do? Just lay it out. And that's what I'm talking about. You don't have a constructive plan. You're wasting time. You want to go down there not just to waste your time, because you ain't got nothing to do, so you say, because you ain't got no imagination. You want to waste time with people who have something constructive to do. That's why they there. They not just downtown or at the beach because they ain't got nothing to do. They there because they led up to this moment. Whatever it was that they was doing for the rest of the week, that they decided that that's what they're going to do on this day or that day, they don't want to have to come across somebody who's only there to waste time, who's only there to further whatever it was that they was doing in their neighborhoods and at their house. And this lady at the end, well, she talking about the community, the neighborhoods, the people, the parents need to change their schedules according to kids. Why would y'all change according to some kids? The kids' schedule is supposed to pertain or is supposed to evolve around y'all's. Whatever it is that you've outlined for your kids to be doing at whatever time of the day it is, that's what they supposed to be doing. What does that have to do with? I see stuff like this, man, and it lets me know that I truly have an elitist mind. My mindset, my brain is elitist because I look at something like that and I say, no, that's not the answer. That's a waste of time, and it's not constructive. And as I'm sitting up here looking at them, these kids look like they could be my little cousin. My kids gonna look like that. You dig what I'm saying? I looked like that. I look like it now. But what's in the mind? What's actually in the mind? And as they sitting up there reading from their paper, I know that is not an elite brain that they got, because you wouldn't have to go up there and say it. Who are you appealing to? Who are you talking to? Who are you talking to? You talking to legislators, aldermen, talking to city councilmen, lawmakers? Who are you talking to? Because you should be talking to your peers. That's who you should be appealing to. You should be appealing to the people that's your age who want to go to these same places that you want to go to, but instead of going down there for constructive reasons, Instead of going over there to be productive, they want to be destructive. They want to tear things up. You should be talking to them about, hey, man, we should be able to be in these spaces, but they want to limit our access because of the behavior that ensues after we get there. Hey, can we have a community outreach to the kids to learn how to behave themselves, etiquette classes, things like that? Because if it's not about having a proper etiquette, that ain't got nothing to do with just kids. That's for grown folks too. It ain't no space that you think you're going to be able to get into that's of worth, of value, that other people done worked hard to either get into or to maintain, to create, build, and they going to let you just come and act anyway while you there and tear it up. That's why the neighborhoods is the way they is. And ain't nobody came through the neighborhoods and told you to not. Ain't nobody came to your house and told you to get out. Think about that. Ain't nobody came to your neighborhood and said, you got to get out this neighborhood. You can't live here no more because of the way you act. They let y'all do whatever y'all want to do in y'all neighborhood and y'all shoot them up every night. And ain't nobody said nothing about it to the point where you got to literally get removed from where you stay. They'll go on the news and talk about it. They talk about everything. Cats getting stuck in trees, buildings burning down, people stealing, whatever. They talking about everything on the news. So if they talk about how many people that got shot or how many people got killed and they got somebody's mama and grandmama on the news crying about what baby done got killed, they told you could do whatever you want to do in your neighborhood. You can't do it over here though. And I ain't gonna lie to you, if I'm at the Riverwalk like I was yesterday, I don't want to see y'all down there, 300 of you shooting. I don't want to see it. I don't want to be nowhere near it. That's just my prerogative. Even when I was younger, I didn't run in big old crowds like that because it's a waste of time. And why would I waste my own time? Listening to these kids, why would I waste my own time? Listening to that lady talking at the end, why would I waste my own time listening to that, knowing that it's garbage that you try to peddle? And I don't know why y'all want people to lower their standards. You should raise yours. If you find yourself somewhere where the standards are higher than what you can reach, you should leave with the thought of, I'm coming back with my standards raised so that I can enjoy this. Not to say, hey, you should lower your standards for me. I should be able to enjoy this based on the standards that I have, not the standards that you've set. And so these professional time wasters, these is they kids. And these kids will inevitably fail just like their mamas and daddies did. Failures, the whole lot of them. Ain't gonna never improve and ain't gonna never have nothing worth having. But instead of them building something worth having, they'd much rather you lower your standards, let them into what you done built so they can tear it up. And it's no different if you own property. I saw some video, some white boy is trying to convince landlords to sell their property, and I ain't even give them half a thought. I'm not even going to listen to that because why would I waste my own time listening to that? But it's the same thing if you're in the rental business. If y'all out there who are in the rental business, y'all can speak to what I'm talking about. Why would I lower my standards of living for what I've decreed? I've said, hey, these are the rules. These are the parameters. This is what you can do while you live in here. This is what you can't do while you live in here. Why would I lower those standards for somebody just because they feel entitled to it? They want to be special. Well, guess what? You ain't. Ain't nobody special. You can be special among yourselves as far as what you consider yourself to be, elitist or not, right? But ain't nobody going to make special treatment for you. They're not going to put set-asides there for you so that you can have their standards lowered or you could squander whatever it is that they've built for themselves. And it's because you are without proper guidance. In the community they reside in will be their final resting place. You're not going to progress past that. Even if you sit up there with the city council, whoever it is that you're sitting up there with talking to, no matter what they say to you, don't let them people gas your head up into thinking that the world is going to lower their standards for you. They not. And if you're a professional time waster, you can just imagine all the things that you're going to be missing out on. But you're not going to be able to actually enjoy them because nobody's going to lower their standards for you to be able to. You need to raise your standards. You need to have some discipline about yourself and stop wasting your own time because I'm not going to let you waste mine. I'm not going to let you waste mine. And them kids, I don't know them kids. So I'm not attacking them kids for what they have to endure. But somebody has to have a sharp tongue And they have to have a sharp enough mind to let them kids know that whoever the grown person was that let you write that on paper and had you sit up there and say it without actually meaning it, they leading you astray. Because they should have told you straight up, this ain't how this go. You can write that on a piece of paper. You can sit up there and tell them people, but they not going to have no sympathy for you. And they not supposed to. Because that elitist mind that they have won't allow them to. Because they truly, truly believe in progress. They truly, truly believe in ambition. And you have to have such in order to be in the places that you want to be in. You want to go to these places. You want to enjoy the things that are there. You want to meet new people. Change your attitude. Change the way you look at life. Have some discipline about yourself, right? And come on down and come aboard this elitist view of the world and an elitist view of yourself. But it got to start in the schools. It can't just, matter of fact, forget the schools. It got to start at the homes. But it should be reinforced in the schools and then trickle down once you get back home. Your mamas and daddies should have you on that course. And then your teachers and administrators should keep you on that course. And when you come back home, they should let you know that there's more to it, that it ain't over. You ain't going to hit a dead end so quickly. But this whole time wasting, that's your dead end. You're already there. It's another video we have to look at. Have to look at this other video because this is also something that has to do with the kids. And if you pay attention, it's the same old thing. It's nothing different about it. It's the same thing. So let's go to this real quick.
Story time. I was at a high school and there was a female student there with a tube top on and some shorts so short you can basically see her butt crack. I then looked at the male teacher, who happened to be an older black man, and said, "Do you guys not have a dress code? There's not enough administrators to really enforce it." I said, "Well, why don't the teachers enforce it?" He said, "Ma'am, let me tell you something." He goes on to say to me, "Ma'am, I'm a few years from retirement and I don't need no problems. And the last thing I need is a report coming my way from a student counselor after I tell a little girl to cover up and she tries to make it seem like I'm being a pervert. You know what? Why don't you call her mother?" And he says, "Ma'am, with all due respect, only thing that's going to happen if I call that girl's mother is a larger version of her is going to come up here, dressed the same, with the same level of maturity and the same disposition, yelling at me saying I'm looking at her daughter." Oh, and that's not all. I know a male driver trainer that ended up training a female driver, and when he did not give her the green light, she went in there and told them folks he failed her because she wouldn't sleep with him. She couldn't bag up. And then when they asked her to bag up, because it's like about 80% of the job, guess what the heifer couldn't do? That's not all. I know the man that was in management, and there was an employee who had been written up several times due to altering her uniform to fit tighter, claimed that she hurt her arm. And she went to this said manager, as most employees do when they claim that they are hurt, and he looked at her arm and touched her arm. And he was then written up to HR for inappropriate touch by this said employee, who was almost out the door and being fired due to altering her uniform. One thing I can say, if women continue to weaponize their sexuality in this way in the West, you're going to see politicians and officials put forth policies to incentivize the removal of women in many sectors in the workforce.
So there you got it. There you have it from one of y'all own. And if y'all kids is going to school and intimidating administrators and teachers based on the fact that they know they mamas and daddies is going to come up there and act out, then there's really no hope for these kids at all. And if y'all are entering into the workforce and using your gender as a weapon, then again, you're not going to have much of an opportunity to advance yourself. And again, it all boils down to the state of mind that you got. And you may think it to be a bad thing. You may think it to be wrong to have an elitist view, but it really will be your saving grace. It really will be the thing that keep you from living a life of squalor, right? Based on the fact that you know better. And when you knew better, you do better. You dig? And it ain't too much or nothing that a person can do or say in that regard that's going to shift you in a way that will lessen your chances of being the person that you see yourself becoming. And it's all based on the fact that you have this mindset. You can look and see on this video, in the last video that I played, that the mindset of these other people that don't align with yours, it goes back to the two denominations. You're either thief or you're not. You're either thief or you're not. And you don't have to necessarily steal something from somebody, but you can steal their time. And that's what that is. If I worked at a school, I'm not an educator. Thank God. I couldn't do it. But if I was an educator, I got two cousins who are teachers, and I don't talk to them very often about it, but they have conveyed that it is difficult for them to teach y'all kids, man. And these are two female cousins of mine. And, you know, I'm sure they have many horror stories to tell. Hopefully one day I can have them on this show and they can talk about some of the things that they see when it comes to trying to teach y'all kids something. And I know it's not just the kids, man. It comes from their mamas and daddies. And you don't want it. You can't just blame the mothers. I know that's what a lot of people do. They just blame the mothers. It's both, because why would you have a baby with this person? If you know this person was mentally unstable as the fella, because you gotta, hey homie, I gotta put y'all on the hook, dog. If you knew that broad was mentally unstable, if you knew she had issues with just following instructions, to say the least, if she wouldn't listen to you in the relationship, why would you put a baby in her? That's some of the first things you should be worried about. Y'all running around here worried about body counts and how many people done slept with. What you really should be worried about is this person going to listen and take the instructions that I'm giving? And if they are listening and taking the instructions that you're giving, and your kids and whoever else end up bad like this, then yeah, you are to blame. But if you knew that you couldn't give her an instruction, why would you put a baby in her? Because you're not going to be able to tell the child nothing. And she's going to hover and helicopter around the child to make sure that that child has a underworld view of life and live in that, as opposed to overworld. Now, I already told you about Middle Earth. That's nothing fancy. It is literally average, and average isn't a healthy denomination. Average is literally what's left over. You're not overworld, you're not underworld, you're Middle Earth, you're average, you're leftover, you're nobody, you're nothing from nowhere. And again, I don't want to deal with a nothing from nowhere, because why would I waste my own time? And if you leave this show remembering anything, I want you to remember that. Remember that phrase. Why would I waste my own time? So if you're thinking about calling me and talking about nothing, remember, why would he waste his own time? If you're thinking about getting up with me and doing something that leads to nothing and nowhere, remember, why would he waste his own time? Just think about that. And it'll keep us copacetic. It'll keep us 100. I don't got to see you every day. I don't got to talk to you every day. I'm not going to think less of you because I don't see you or talk to you. Ain't that bizarre? The people who think less of people because they don't hang out with you as much as they used to, or they don't call you as much as they used to, well, hopefully they busy. And you should be too, because why are you wasting your own time thinking about them when they not thinking about you? And hopefully it's for constructive reasons. So when they do reach out, or you do reach out, y'all won't be wasting each other's time.